I hadn't yet made a decision, really. So I wasn't really sure who I wanted to play these two parts. But when I saw Milan and Sophie interacting in front of the camera, everything just became silent, and I was just watching. And I didn't say anything, and there wasn't much I could have told them. But what happened between them, this chemistry, happened in such a way that afterwards I went home. It was actually during the Berlin International Film Festival. There was the media board event, but I couldn't focus because I was thinking about what they did, and I thought I would be insane if I didn't choose them, because there's so much that they've already brought into this. And then during shooting, they're both like, fountains. You almost need to try to keep them apart so that they haven't spent all their energy in before they meet. And in the film, there's this whole process of how they meet each other, of how they become closer. The only thing I needed to do is provide the concentration, let's say. She's understating this. She did much more than that. Well, that's how I felt anyway. I mean, I went to acting school, and my speech therapist or educator was Anna Hoag, and I had always greatly enjoyed her classes because that was one of the most important parts of my education. And many of the parts you see there from Anna were, let's say, dedicated to that teacher. I think I had a funny way of speaking when I came to acting school. At least people like to laugh at me when I spoke. And I always felt very, very embarrassed. And Anna always stood by me, helped me improve. And I then wrote the scenes the way I had experienced them. But Milan also went to see a different speech therapist. Yes, I did. And that was so funny. We spent a few days together, a few weeks before the shooting started, and it was exactly that situation. I was in West Berlin, like this enormously big apartment, a grand piano, just like the situation we were going to have in the film. And as I said, it was really funny, and it was incredibly helpful. But then we did the opposite of what you saw here. We dealt with, let's say, my speech deficits. Yes, that's right. I mean, we had to figure out how to portray this in the movie. We needed someone who can act like this without having an actual speech impediment. And I had particular fun in these scenes because I think I was the nightmare of my speech educators and acting school. In my very first lesson, my teacher told me, "You need to know I never wanted you here. You shouldn't be in acting school. You should be working in a hospital." And I think that was very good preparation for the hours that ensued, because I was, of course, entirely relaxed. And I have to say, I enjoyed having an opportunity decades later to torture somebody else and act as somebody who's an authority in this field. As it's wonderful to do things in a film that you actually don't know how to do in reality. At least I enjoy that.
France and Côte d'Azur very well fit the idea of our film because it reminds the audience of all the other films that were set there. Maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't, but in the preparation and the selection of the scenes and images together with Reinhold, I had a lot of fun. Reinhold Vorschneider, who was my cinematographer. We went through all of the love stories in cinema of the 1950s and 60s and used some of these locations. And in France, the French films were the ones that we saw, and they also generated famous couples, famous love stories. One of the great things about love is to do all of the things that couples do. And copying this, doing it again and again, re-experiencing things that you've already seen in thousands of films, what people tell you about love, what you've read about love. And when you're not exactly the way it is portrayed in these books and movies, you have to create your own story. And I think the strength of these two lovers is that they just go beyond all these expectations, but they feel them. They see it reflected in meetings with others. But I also believe when you really find somebody that you fall in love with, that you immediately feel comfortable, starting with the first second. That's the miracle about it. You think it's crazy, I don't know you, but at the same time, it just works. It's just something you can't resist.